Okay, good evening once again to all of you. Let's. I am welcoming again on this session, and in today's session, what I am focusing is the three parts. I've divided the complete session into three sections, as you can see. That is, you have to understand what are those data types, what are those operators which we are using while implementing the programming part inside an embedded system. Okay, so if you are preparing an embedded system and if you want to write a program, then what for writing that program, which kind of data type you will be requiring and which kind of operators you will be requiring. So I'm sure you might have heard about the term data type inside C language. You might have heard about the term operators in the C language. Okay, so it will be pretty similar to that only. Okay, it won't be very much different. So if you have a little bit idea, I'm sure you'll be getting everything. But what you have to understand here is that these data types, these operators, how they will be utilized by the hardware. Okay, because if you look carefully in the embedded system, we have Arduino board, we have sensors, we have actuators. Then how these sensors, actuators, and these Arduino devices, how they are interlinked with these data types and operators. Okay, so that we have to see today. Okay, so I hope the intention and the objective of the class should be clear to you. Okay, next, what is the role of control statement, what is the role of loops, and what is the role of functions as compared to the as in the respect of embedded system. So if you are creating an embedded system, then how we are going to use a control statement, how you are going to use a loop, okay, and how you're going to use functions. I'm sure you will might be knowing the syntax of for loop and while loop, but how those loops will be used in embedded system, that is the thing which we have to focus in this class. Okay guys, so I'm trying to give you a very clear objective and very clear idea that what really we are going to learn in this class. Okay, and after understanding about the functions, we will see some very important functions which we have in the Arduino. Okay, and we will try to understand some IO, I mean input output based functions, which are very frequently used in Arduino board. Okay, or you can say in the field of embedded system. Okay, once you understand embedded system properly, then only we can switch to IoT part. Okay guys, so I hope the objective is clear to all of you. Now let's move forward and let's try to understand part by part, and if any query is there, you can ask me. So in part one, we will be seeing about the different data types. Okay, so if you look carefully, you might have seen these kind of data types in C language as well. Not all of them, but I'm sure maximum of them. Okay, so it's not that you have to learn by heart each and every data type, but let's first of all understand what do you mean by data type. Okay, so from the word data type, actually you can see there are two words there, data and type. Okay, means we will be having some data and that data can be segregated into different categories. Okay, so that data can be a character, that data can be some integer, it can be some boolean value also. Yes or no? Now this data which you are seeing here, from where you will get? So you know that you have sensors, you have actuators, you have I mean display devices. Okay, so these all three things combined together with embedded system will be producing or will be consuming something that is called as data. For example, if you take a sensor, okay, so this sensor, when it is sensing the environment, it will generate what? Some result, and that result is what? Actually data. Okay, and this data can be categorized into any format. It can be character, it can be integer, it can be boolean, anything. Okay, so what I am trying to make you understand here is that with the help of this embedded system, whatever data is produced, they can be categorized under these options only. Okay, only these options are there under which you can categorize the data produced by the embedded system. Okay, like suppose if it is produced If suppose there is a sensor called IR sensor, okay, so if this sensor is generating a Boolean data. Boolean data means either it will be true or it will be false. Okay, so in that category, we will be utilizing the data type Boolean. Okay, so I hope you have got a basic idea that which are the data types which is present inside the Arduino programming language. Okay, and how it is important to us. Okay, so we will learn all of them one by one, not here, but as the class will proceed, you will be observing that different kinds of data is getting produced. Okay, and for analyzing purpose or for processing purpose, we will be requiring those data types. Okay, so that we can hold that data and we can process the information. Okay, so I hope you have understood these different data types, and you all might be even aware of these all data types. Okay, if you are not aware, don't worry. In the coming classes, we will discuss all of them one by one. One thing which I would like to put you here and make you understand, that is what is unsigned. Unsigned means without any sign. So unsigned means always positive. Okay, so I've observed few students have some query regarding what do you mean by unsigned. So it is actually it's actually what? Positive. Okay, now let's start. So I was talking about these data types, and don't worry, we'll discuss about all of them one by one later on. Okay, but a small picture I would like to clarify here itself. So these are the very famous data types which we have to use, and you can see that the memory space required by them is this much. I mean, if you are utilizing the Boolean data type, you will be requiring 8-bit. Okay, and one important note I would like to give it to you now only, that is in the field of embedded system, there is always shortage of memory. Okay, so it is always advisable to use that data type where you can require minimum number of space. Okay, like suppose if you have a sensor and if that sensor is producing some data, okay, if that data can be collected with the help of a Boolean variable, then you should not go for choosing byte or character or word or anything. Okay, because if you use integer, then you are going to utilize 16-bit of memory. Okay, because there is memory shortage always in the field of embedded system, so it is always advisable to use as per the data. Okay, so you have to understand your data type, you have to understand your sensor, what is the requirement or what is the amount of data getting produced, and based on that, smartly you have to select the data type. Okay, keep that as a note, guys. Okay, maybe in future you will see we have utilized or we have selected the byte data type instead of integer. Okay, like suppose if I have a data which is produced within 0 to 255, then why to take the data type as int? It's better to take the data type as byte. Okay, I hope you're getting my point here, guys. So depending upon what data is getting produced by our sensors or what data we have to pass on, we will be selecting the data type. Okay, that's why you should have a great idea or a very good idea about the value ranges, okay, and the assigned size of the data type, so that you can smartly select any specific data type as per the requirement. Okay, so I hope you have understood what is the importance of understanding and keeping in mind the value ranges of the Arduino based data type. Now, moving forward, I would like to first of all make you understand about the Arduino program structure. Already, sir might have told you, and you might have installed the software also. Have you downloaded the Arduino software, guys? Can you just tell me yes or no? Have you downloaded the software? No. Okay, fine. So I'll do one thing. I mean, it's not a big deal. You can do one thing. You can search on Google Arduino software, just you write like that, and you will be going to the website arduino.cc. Just right here. arduino.cc, you will go to that website, and from there you can download. Okay, and suppose if you are still not able to download, you can talk to us, or you can mail us, or you can tell in the next class that I was not able to download, or you can today only you can tell me in the just remind me, I'll give you the link in the chat box. From there you can download. Okay, now why I'm saying this, that once you download the Arduino software, you will get some kind of this kind of IDE, or you can say when you open the software, you will get this kind of look and feel. Okay, and in that you will observe that there are two functions. I'm sure you know, you understand what do you mean by function. You might have seen the syntax of function also. So you'll observe that there are two functions automatically getting created in the software. Okay, so we'll try to understand what are these two functions and what is the importance of these two functions. So today itself you download Arduino software and just check whether you are getting these two functions or not. Okay, so in the program architecture, whenever you are trying to write a program in any embedded system based coding, especially in Arduino, you'll observe that it is giving you this kind of architecture. Okay, where we will be having a function called as setup and one more function that is called as loop. Okay, so let's try to understand what these two functions are actually used for. Okay, so this is the simple definition, kind of, you can say, or just trying to make you understand what these two functions are used for. Okay, now let's try to understand. So if you can see here, this is your void setup function and this is your void loop function syntax. Okay, now what is the purpose of void setup function? Now this void setup function is a very important function. So before understanding it, let me tell you very important thing, that is this is executed only once. Please write down, guys. This void setup function is executed only once. Okay, means if you power up the system, means if you supply the power, or if you press the reset button. Do you remember I told you about the reset button? Okay, so I even told you that when you press the reset button, the program restarts. Okay, so if you power up the system or you press the reset button, this void setup will be executed once. Okay, now in this void setup, basically what we do, we try to initialize the variables, we try to set the channels. So if you remember, we had digital channels, we had analog channels inside our Arduino board, yes or no? Those digital pins and analog pins are also referred as channels. Okay guys, so what we are doing in the function void setup, we try to activate the channels of digital pins and analog pins as per the requirement. Okay, we even try to start the libraries. Okay, so depending upon your project, what you will do, you will try to write those code which is executed only once inside the void setup. Okay, so in short, what I'm trying to make you understand is that void setup is that function which is getting executed only once, and we try to write those codes which is required to get executed only once. Means once you initialize a variable as integer as x, then that's done. You don't have to initialize again and again the variable type as integer, yes or no? It is something which will be done only once. Okay, so where to write this? You will be writing inside the void setup. Getting my point, guys? Okay, so that is the importance of void setup. So this void setup is very important, and we generally write those part of code which is just getting executed only once. That's it. Okay, now what is the importance of void loop? This is very important. Okay, and you have to understand that which part of code you have to write in void loop. Okay, now from the name only, loop means what? Something which repeats after again and again and again. Okay, so loop is actually, this function is actually a very interesting function whose job is to repeat itself. Okay, means what I'm trying to say is this loop function, what will happen once you suppose you have written three line of code, what will happen once these 3 lines are executed, again these 3 lines will be executed. Means this will keep on looping. Means this function, you can say, it is called for an infinite time. Okay, it seems that this function is called for infinitely, and once executing, it will again execute, again it will execute, and that it will keep on doing till there is power supply. Okay, so the job of the loop function is what? It is used to execute all the things which is present inside here one after the other repetitively, you can say for the infinite time till there is a power supply. Okay, and you can say because of this loop function only, your complete embedded system is called as, it is present in the active mode. Getting my point, guys? Okay, like if you remember, or if I was telling you about an example yesterday, suppose this is your home, and in your home you want to implement that if some person is coming near your home, then the camera, what it should do, it should catch the picture of this person and send to your smartphone. So this camera or this complete setup has to be active throughout the day, yes or no? You cannot keep it active only for 1 hour or 2 hours, because we don't know when this person will come. So what we have to do, we have to keep the complete embedded system active throughout the day. Okay, and for that what you will do, you will write your complete code inside this void loop, and this void loop will keep on executing one after the other infinitely till there is power supply. Okay, so whenever the person will come, the motion sensor will sense the person and the camera will take the picture. Getting my point, guys? So there, this void loop function plays a very vital role. Okay, and that is the reason why we have only two functions present inside the two main functions present inside the Arduino. One, void setup, where the basic things are done, and loop, where infinite job is done one after the other. Okay, so I hope you have understood the importance of void setup and void loop function. Okay, so I hope now you have understood this basic thing regarding what is how the structure of Arduino software looks like. Okay, it's very simple, guys. Okay, so when you start doing the program, that is from tomorrow only, you will understand very practically that okay, this is very simple, and you will be even getting all the concepts. Now let's move to the part 2, and I'm sure here maximum part you might be knowing, but my intention will be to make you understand in the application view. Means if there is a condition, then what this condition is actually, how you can, suppose you have to apply if condition. If you have a if condition, how this if condition is, connected with embedded system, that we'll try to understand. I'm trying to show you is that the application case we'll try to understand. So you all know about the control statement. So if you look at this flow chart, you will get a great picture. So what happens in the if condition? So you will write your condition here, and that condition will be either true or it will be false. Okay. So if it is false, you are not going to execute anything. I'm talking about only if case. Okay. So in that case, if the condition is true, you will execute the body part, else you will not do anything. Yes or no, guys? Similarly, if you try to look for the other kinds of control statements, then you may come up with like this case, where if your condition is true, then you can execute one body part. If your condition is false, then also you can execute some body part. Okay, and this you can say it is called as if else ladder. Okay, where we try to use this kind of if else ladder, where there are multiple number of conditions. Okay, so now where we can apply these things, where we can apply the if condition, it's very simple. Like suppose I'm talking about a case which I explained yesterday also, where we had if you remember, we had something called as LDR, light dependent register, and there was something called as relay, and through that relay a bulb was connected. If you remember, a bulb was connected. It was written that AC power source. So what we have done, I explained you yesterday as saying that if the light particles fall on this LDR, it will be considering that it is daytime, and it will tell the Arduino board that it is daytime, and Arduino board will tell the relay to switch off the bulb. Okay, if you remember that example. So if you look carefully, what actually is happening here? Here we are writing a if condition. What is that if condition? The if condition is that whatever data that is given by LDR, suppose it is a digital data in the form of 1 or 0. 1 represents that it is daytime and 0 represents nighttime. So we will check that if LDR is giving us 1, in that case relay should be deactivated. If the LDR is giving 0, in that case relay will be activated. So I hope you are getting my point that here the if conditions are the coding part through which we are actually able to control the AC bulbs. Okay, so I hope you're getting my point, guys. Just can I get a yes in the chat box? If no, I will try my best to explain you once more. I'm trying to explain you that how these if conditions are applied in the embedded system. Okay, fine. Let me explain you with a better example. Do you know about IR sensor? Do you remember about IR sensor which I explained yesterday? Yeah, okay. So if you remember, these IR sensors are those sensors which can sense obstacle. So suppose this is the wall. Suppose there is a wall here. So you know that this IR sensor, what it does, it sends the IR rays and the reflected ray will come and fall on the IR sensor. Yes or no? And based on that, it will send us 1 or 0. 1 means it has sensed the obstacle. 0 means there is no obstacle. Okay. So what I'm trying to make you understand is that till the hardware part, what will happen? We will get 1 or 0 inside the Arduino board. Okay. Now, how you will tell, how you will tell the human being that there is an obstacle? Because this 1 and 0 is flowing inside the wires. It is kind of current. If you remember, I told you 1 means 5 volt, 0 means 0 volt. Okay. So this is flowing inside the wires. How the human being will come to know? So what we will do, we can write if conditions. Okay. Now what this if condition can do, it can take this input, whatever is coming from this wire, it will take that input and will check whether the input is 1 or it is 0. Okay. So if it is 1, we can indicate with the help of by showing on the display that obstacle is there, or we can show by obstacle is not there by showing in the LCD display. Okay. I hope you're getting my point, guys. If still you are not getting, then let me just come up with some example. Is it clear now, guys? Just can you confirm me? If it's clear, okay, fine. If it is still not clear, don't worry. In the coming days, when the practical part will come, you will surely understand what the meaning is. Okay. You can also see about the switch case. Switch case means suppose there are different scenarios. Okay. In that case, what we'll do, will not use if condition, we'll move to switch case. Means suppose there are 3 cases, like if there is a sensor and that sensor is giving you 3 scenarios. So what you can do, you can put them in the switch case, and based on that you can perform 3 different tasks. Okay. So what we will be doing is we will be coming up with some kind of practical in the future classes, and we'll show you that, okay, if this kind of cases are there, there are more than 1 case or more than 2 cases are there, then it's better that you should not write if condition, you should write switch case. Okay. So I hope you all are aware of switch case, where the coding, where the control flow will flow in this way, that if suppose case 1 is correct, then this part of execution will take place. If case 2 is correct, this part will be executed, and so on. Okay. What I will be doing is I'll open after my explanation, I'll open up the text pad where I've written a small code to make you understand regarding these conditional statements as well. Okay. Now let's proceed forward and let's try to see next part. Now loop. You all know about the loop. What is loop? So it's a case, it's a kind of, going round and round, going round and round till the condition is true. Yes or no? That's called loop. So in the case of embedded system, how you will come to know that, okay, we have to implement loop or not? I'm sure you might be knowing about for loop. Now, what is for loop basically? So if you remember, in for loop, we have three parts. Here we write the condition. Here we write increment or decrement part, if you remember. So what happens? And here we write the initialization part. So this initialization is done once. Okay. This is the body part. I'm just trying to give you an idea. How you are going to apply the for loop in the practical embedded system scenario. So what is for loop? This increment, this initialization will be done first, then this condition will be checked. If this condition is true, then your body part will be executed, and then it will go back to the increment decrement part, and from here it will go back to the condition, and again this loop will continue till the condition is false. I hope this is clear to everyone. I am sure you might be knowing also. I have not told you something new. Okay, so what I am trying to make you understand here is that in the for loop, what actually is happening? Look at this condition part. Till the condition is true, the body of the loop will keep on executing. And as soon as the condition is false, we are coming out. Now, if you have understood this, then in embedded system, how it is applied, that is the thing which you have to understand. So let's see with an example. So this is a sensor. Okay, both are same sensor. This is the sensor is called as flame sensor. Okay, the sensor is called as flame sensor. I'll write right here. It's called as flame sensor. Flame sensor is sensor which can sense flame. In the fire, we have flame that it can sense. So it is a smaller one. It is a huge one. It will be used in industry's purpose. Okay. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that what this flame sensor will be doing, this flame sensor has to sense the flame. Okay, so till the condition of sensing flame is no, till the sensing of flame is no, we will not switch on the alarm. Okay, and as soon as there is flame, condition is true, we'll switch on the alarm. Are you getting my point, guys? Better I'm writing the case. So case 1, flame is no flame. Case 1 is no flame, because if I'm talking about flame sensor, then two possibility can be there. Case 1 where flame will be there, case 2 where there will be no flame. Sorry, I'm writing in the reverse way. Case 1 no flame, case 2 flame. Now suppose if you have to implement a alarm system, so what we have to do? Just think that you are the human being and you are told that you have to switch on a alarm which is present here. Okay, a alarm is present here and you have to switch on the alarm if there will be fire. So what this human being will do, it will keep on observing the complete industry, and if there is no fire, this alarm will be deactivated. Okay, and if he finds anywhere that there is fire, he will quickly come to this alarm and he will switch on that alarm. So what basically he is doing, he is continuously observing the scenario, okay, and giving a condition that there is no flame. Case 1 is true, no flame. Okay, every time it is checking, no flame, no flame, it is checking. And what it is doing, it is not setting the alarm. And as soon as the condition becomes false, what happens? Means there will be flame, and in that case the alarm has to be set. So if you are getting my point, you will understand that for implementing this kind of scenario, you will require the for loop. Okay, getting my point, guys? Have you understood that why we are utilizing the for loop in the embedded system? Is it clear to all of you? Can you reply in the chat box, yes or no? Yeah, okay. Even while loop is utilized for the same purpose. I'll give you one more better example, and I'm sure you will understand again the importance of this while loop and for loop. Okay. So can anyone tell me by looking at the image that what is in this image? What kind of embedded system is implemented in this image? Can anyone tell me what kind of embedded system is implemented in this image? Anyone? Look carefully. Can you tell me what kind of embedded system is implemented in this image? If you remember, I told you in the last class, if you want to look for embedded system, you have to look for three things. One is sensor, other is Arduino board or any kind of controller, and third is actuator. If you remember, these three together is referred as embedded system. So can anyone see any embedded system? You can tell no if you are not able to see, don't worry. This is the first time. So I'm sure you may find difficulty in searching an embedded system in the diagram. Okay, fine. But I'm sure you might have seen automatic opening door in a mall. Tell me yes or no, guys. Have you seen automatic opening door in a mall? Yes, I'm sure everyone might have seen. And have you ever thought that how it is called as automatic opening door, or what is actually going on there that it is automatically opening? Any have you ever thought regarding that? How really that door is opening automatically? Okay, I'm sure you might have at least thought for once that surely it is a brilliant technology that the door is understanding that a person is coming and it is automatically opening. So I'm trying to make you understand here the complete scenario, and I will also show you the importance of for loop and while loop here. Okay, and I'm sure if you have understood, in future if you are trying to prepare any kind of project related to this kind of scenario, you will surely apply for loop or while loop there. Okay, so if you look at this door, can you see something here? So this is basically your motion sensor. I'm writing in short. So this is your motion sensor. Okay, and this door which you are seeing here, this door and this door which is opened one, is actually running on motor. Okay, actually there are two motors connected on the top side at this place and this place, and that motor rotates. That's why the door moves in the left side and right side. Okay, and in order to control this motion sensor, which is a sensor here, and these two motors, which is actually an actuator, surely here will be some kind of controller. I'm not saying it's going to be Arduino only, but surely there will be some kind of controller present there. Okay, so what actually is happening here? Whenever any person comes near the window, comes near the door, what happens? The motion sensor senses that person, and it sends the information to the controller that there is some person. Okay, and then the controller will give the direction to the motors to rotate in clockwise or anti-clockwise so that the door should open up. Okay, so that is the scenario going on here. Have you understood the scenario, guys? Just tell me yes or no, that how this automatic opening door actually works. You can write yes or no in the chat box. Yeah, okay. Now you will feel that, sir, okay, it is very nice, but in the programming section, what actually happened? That is the thing which I would like to make you understand. So if you just imagine this automatic opening door is present here throughout the year, yes or no? Or if I say throughout the decade, it is present here. 10 years, 100 years, it will be present here. Whatever lifespan this door is having, it will be present here. And this door doesn't know when the person is going to come. So what will happen? This motion sensor, what will happen? the controller which is present here, what it will do? It will implement a for loop. What it will do? It will implement a for loop. And in the conditional part, it will see, first of all, that motion sensor has sensed yes or no. Or let me write in an easy way, it will sense whether it has sensed 1 or 0. Okay, 1 means there is motion and 0 means no motion. NM. Okay, so what will happen? And inside the body part, what I'm doing, I'm writing the code which will be opening the, or you can say which will be rotating the motor. Getting my point, guys? Now look carefully how this for loop is working. If the motion sensor is sensing 0, or suppose if motion sensor is sensing that there is no motion, then what will happen? We will not go inside the body part. Or you can say this control statement should be written in such a way that, okay, if there is no motion, if there is motion, then only you come inside the body part. Okay, so if you observe carefully, this kind of code is best executed with the help of while loop. Okay, so either you will be requiring while loop or for loop. You can utilize any one of them and you can execute the thing. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that this motion sensor is creating the condition, and this controller is looking at the condition, and if the condition is not true, it is not executing the body part, and if as soon as the condition becomes true, it is executing the body part. And for implementing that kind of scenario, you will require what? For loop or while loop. Are you getting my point, guys? Are you getting a basic idea that, okay, here surely we will have to apply some kind of for loop or while loop to implement this kind of logic? Are you getting that, guys? You can reply by writing yes in the chat box. Okay, fine. So I hope you have understood. And suppose if you have not got clear idea also, don't worry, guys, because in coming classes we will be coming up with many sensors. Okay, and you will see that we are again coming up with for loop and while loop, and we are executing those cases again and again. Okay, so this was just a real life example. I'm trying to make you understand that how the nowadays technologies which you are seeing are getting controlled by simple codes. Okay, so now let's proceed forward. I hope you all are aware of while statement and full statement syntax and all. Okay, if not, at the last I will also give a try and try to make you understand that part also. Now coming to the functions. Now as you can see in the coding part, we had only two functions. One was called as there were only two functions. Now the point is, if you are creating a big project, there can be, I mean, lot of things to do. So in that case, it is not handy to write the complete logic inside the loop function, because in the setup you will write only those things which are getting executed only once. Yes or no? Now whatever code is left, that you have to write in the loop function only, but that is not advisable. Why? Because you all know that if you write the complete code inside this loop function, and if suppose there are 10,000 line of code, then it may become very clumsy and you may come up with a lot of errors. So what happens? You can write more number of functions inside the Arduino software. So what you can do is, after creating these two functions, that is void setup and void loop, what you can do, if you require any other function, you can create those functions and you can put on the top. So suppose this is your setup function, this is your loop function. So here you can write function 1, here you can write function 2, whatever, any number of functions which you want, you can create here, and the loop function can call them and utilize them. Okay, so I hope you are aware about functions. Let me give you a basic idea about what do you mean by function. So function is basically, you can say, a body, or you can say a piece of code where you can write specific statements. Okay, and it is always called by function name. Okay, means suppose inside the loop, if you want to call function 1, then you this inside the loop you will be calling them with the help of f1. Okay, if the name is f1, so what will happen, it will return something. So it is having a return type also. So whenever whatever lines are getting executed, after that whatever it has to return, that will be returned with the help of return type. Okay, and inside this you can pass different arguments also. Okay, so it can be 1 argument, 2 argument, 3 argument, whatever you want. So it is pretty similar, or you can say it is completely similar to that of functions which you have studied in C language. Okay, if suppose any one of you are not aware completely about function, don't worry. In the coming classes, when we will be implementing a bigger project, we will be creating separate functions, and you will observe that, okay, this is the way the functions are created. Okay, and today at the last also I'll show you one function which we can, as an example. Okay, and I'll also show you that how you can create the functions. So please, it's an important note for everyone to keep in mind, that suppose if this is your setup function and this is your loop function, then if you're creating any function, you have to create them first. Okay, if you're creating these functions after loop, there will be problem. So please put this as a note, that whenever you are creating any user defined function, you have to create them first before creating the setup and loop function. Okay, please, this you can put as a note. So I hope it's clear to all of you. Now let's move to the third part. So in the third part, I'm trying to make you understand, that is, some important Arduino IO functions, input output functions, which are very famous, and you will observe that we are using it very frequently throughout the class. Okay, so out of these four, 3 of them I'll explain you today only, because the fourth one I'll be explaining you with some other topic, and the topic name I'm just specifying you here. Kindly, if I'm not explaining, kindly remind me that day. I'll be explaining you that day. Okay, so there's one topic referred as ADC. On that topic, I'll be explaining you the fourth function. Okay, so in today's class, we'll be understanding 3 functions. That is, first function is referred as pin mode, second one is digital write, and third one is analog read. Okay, so I'll not only explain these functions, I will also show you the case, or you can say I'll show you the case study where these functions can be implemented. Okay, so that in the future classes, when some examples are shown to you or some practicals are done in front of you, you should come to know, or you should understand, okay, why I am using this function. Okay, it's very important to understand why for anything you use. Yes or no? Suppose you are doing something and you don't know why you are doing, then there is no benefit. Okay, so my intention is to make you understand the advantage of this function or utilization of this function, and along with that, why you are utilizing this function. Okay, so let's understand these 3 functions with example. So let's move forward, guys. So this is first pin mode function. So as you can see, the pin mode function is a function which is written inside the void setup function. Can you see that, guys? It means that this function will be executed only once. Okay, now what is the job of this function? This function is used to set the mode of the Arduino pin. Means, if you remember, in the class 1, or yesterday's class, while I was explaining you the Arduino board, I told you that these are the digital pins. If you remember, from pin number 2 onward, I had shown you this is called as digital pins. And I even told you that on these pins, whatever number you are seeing here, through them the data can get transferred to the controller which is present here. Do you remember that, guys? Okay. So these pins which you are seeing here, these are actually referred as channels. Okay. And a channel can be of two types. One, it can be an input channel, and other it can be an output channel. Okay. So suppose if you want to connect a sensor, it means what? You are trying to send the data inside the Arduino. Let's take an example of a human being. A human being is having eyes. Yes or no? Human being is having eyes. Now what is eyes? Can anyone tell me? It is a sensor or it's a output device? I am sure you will be telling that it is a sensor. Now what is the use of sensor? It will sense the environment and send the data inside the brain. Yes or no? So in that case, if I suppose give you an example and tell me the arrow, let me see, can you explain me? I mean, can you just tell me the correct thing? Suppose this is eyes and suppose this is your brain, and there is a wire present between eyes and brain. So tell me guys, should the arrow should be like this or should be like this? I'm just telling this as one number, this is two number. You can tell me one or two. The arrow should point towards the brain or the arrow should be from brain to eyes. You can tell me one or by specifying one and two in the chat box. Have you got the question, guys? Question is that suppose this is the wire through which the information is passing between eyes and brain. Okay, then in that case, the arrow should be pointing towards brain, that is shown by point number 1, or you feel that the arrow should be pointing from brain to eyes, that is pointed by point number 2. So what do you think? It should be point number 1 or point number 2? Just reply in the chat box, guys. I hope you have understood the question. If you have not understood the question, you can ask me. Question is pretty simple, guys. Okay, if you feel that it is a bit confusing, then let me try to make you understand with an example. Look at this example, guys. I hope you will understand by this example only. So if you look at this example, in this what I have done, I have taken the flame sensor, okay, and I have taken a buzzer here, okay. So in the flame sensor, can you see this green wire is connected to some pin present at this place? If you can see, you will get an idea that at this place in the Arduino, the output wire is connected at this place. And if you observe carefully, you know that what this flame sensor does. If there is flame, it will send 1. If there is no flame, it will send 0. Let's suppose like that. So in that case, the channel through which the flame sensor is connected, this is the channel through which the flame sensor is connected, that channel should be always pointing inside the Arduino board. Okay, and that is the meaning of input. Okay, getting my point, guys? So always all the sensors are used in such a way that the channel should be pointing as input channel, and if there is an output device, the channel should be always pointing as the output channel. Okay, so in order to make any channel as input channel or output channel, we use the function pin mode. Getting my point, guys? Okay, so if you look at this small program and try to understand, I'm sure you will be getting the point. This third one for time being you forget. Okay, let's first of all try to make you understand the input and output. Okay, so if you look carefully, let's suppose this button is pointing to buzzer. Okay, and this sorry guys, I'm just repeating the one more way. This button is pointing to the flame sensor, and this LED is pointing to this one. Okay, so if you can see carefully, we have written button is equal to 5, LED equal to 6. So this 5 means what? It is talking to channel 5. Okay, you know that in your Arduino board we have channel 2, 3, 4, 5 till 11, 12 we have. Okay, and this LED, it is 6, means it is pointing to channel number 6. So what we have done, if you look carefully, we have written the pin mode command 2 times. Can you see that, guys? So pin mode, we have written here button, we have written here input. What does it mean? Means your flame sensor should be marked as input type. Okay, and your LED should be LED or buzzer, you can say any one of them because both are output device only. So your LED should be marked as output channel. So what will happen? Whenever you are marking any channel as output channel, data will flow outside from the Arduino. Okay, and if you are marking the channel as input channel, data will flow inside the Arduino. That is the point you have to understand. So have you understood the this pin mode command? Tell me, guys, have you understood the command pin mode? If yes, then we can proceed forward. Just write in the chat box yes or no. Have you understood this pin mode command, guys? Just kindly reply in the chat box. Or if you have not understood, tell me, I'll repeat once more. Okay, fine. It's not that tough. If suppose you have a little bit confusion also, don't worry. Practically when we'll be doing, you will get it. Okay. Rest part, this part I'm not explaining you now because we'll do it practically. There you will get the idea. Okay, don't worry. Okay. Now second command is digital write command. Now what is the use of digital write command? Now this command is used to pass the information from that channel. So suppose if I have marked channel 5 as output channel. Okay, now this is the, suppose this is the channel, and through this channel, suppose I want to pass some information. From tomorrow only we will be doing it practically. Okay, don't worry, guys. So suppose this is the channel. Okay, now suppose through this channel you want to send some information outside. So that information can be either 1 or it can be 0. Okay, so if it is 1, you will mark it as high. If it is 0, you will mark it as low. Okay, so how you can do it? So it will be done with the help of digital write command. Okay, so you can see, guys, here the digital write command. So it's written here digital write LED and high. Two parameters are there. So the first parameter is pointing to as pin, from which pin or which channel you want to transfer the information, and what you want to transfer, whether you want to transfer high or low. Okay, so whatever you want to transfer, that you have to write here. So if it is written digital write LED high, it means what? Look at first of all what is LED actually. So LED is your 6th channel. Okay, so from the 6th channel, what I am doing, I am sending a high pulse. So high pulse means 1. Okay, high pulse means what? 1. So 1 means what? You will get plus 5 volt. What you will get? Plus 5 volt. Okay, similarly in the second case you can see we are passing 0 volt by passing low here. That's it. So in the next class, what I will be telling, what we will be doing is, first of all, we will do these simple programs only, and we'll try to make you understand. Okay. So even you can see this simple example. So these are some LEDs shown you here. Okay. So if you look at these LEDs, so if you pass high, what will happen? This LED will glow. Okay, and if you pass low, the LED will not glow. That will happen. That's it. So practically we'll see and you will understand. Okay, they are getting high and low. That's it. Next is your analog sensor. Okay, now if you look at I have shown a diagram also. This kind of this analog based project we'll be doing a little bit later. First of all, we'll be focusing on the first two, but here only I'm making you understand. So these analog sensors are those sensors where whenever you are connecting any pin, you can see here, this is LDR at this box. Actually, in this diagram, what I'm trying to show you is that here we have a bulb here, we have solar panel, and we have LDR. So this battery will be charged from the solar panel. In the daytime, the bulb will be automatically off, and at the night time, automatically the bulb will be on. So you might have seen on the roads these kind of lights. You might have observed that why they are having a box there. Have you seen box there? Tell me guys, have you seen solar panel based light and you might have seen a box there? Have you thought what is in that box? So you might be thinking that, okay, there might be some battery and all which will be getting power supplied. Along with that, we have some kind of LDR kind of system. Now it totally depends upon the setup. If you want to make it automatic, then only you will be having LDR, otherwise there will not be any LDR. Okay, so this LDR will be sensing and it will be sending the information, and based on that, automatically the bulb will be set on and off. Okay, so in the coming classes, when we will be practically working on LDR, we will show you that how this analog function actually works. Okay, so for time being, I'm not focusing more on how this analog read function actually works. I just wanted to show you that, okay, for these kind of cases, we will be using the function analog read, whereas for the digital cases, we will be using digital read command. Okay, so if you have understood these three commands, that's well and good. If you have not understood, then also don't worry. From the tomorrow's class, when we'll start practically working, you will get the better idea. Okay, so I hope you have understood till now. If any query is there, you can ask me guys. Thank you.